Hi everyone, it's Holly Marie King, and we are back with the Hunger Games. This time we are doing Star Trek The Next Generation, which is one of my favorite Star Treks. But yeah, anyway, let's just jump in and get started. So we have in District 1, of course, Captain Picard and Commander Riker. In District 2, we have Geordi and Deanna. In District 3, we have Data and Lieutenant Worf. In District 4, we have Dr. Beverly and the Enterprise computer. In District 5, we have Wesley and Miles O'Brien. In District 6, we have Lieutenant Tasha and Guinan. If I butcher names, I'm sorry. It's been a long time since I've seen it. In District 7, we have Dr. Pulaski and Nurse Alyssa. In District 8, we have Ensign Rolaren and Q. My favorite because I only have one letter. District 9, we have Lwaxana Troy and Barclay. In District 10, we have Alexander and Amanda. In District 11, we have Captain Edward and Keiko O'Brien. And finally, in District 12, we have Kayler and Timothy. If only I was better at pronouncing names. Alright, so the bloodbath. As the tributes stand on their podiums, the horn sounds. Timothy runs away from the cornucopia. Dr. Beverly runs away from the cornucopia. Dr. Pulaski rips a mace out of Q's hands. Lwaxana Troy runs away from the cornucopia. Captain Picard runs away from the cornucopia, really, of all the ones I could butcher. Kayler runs away from the cornucopia. It's just gonna sound weird no matter how I say it. Lieutenant Tasha runs away from the cornucopia. Amanda runs away from the cornucopia. Commander Riker runs away from the cornucopia. Enterprise computer runs away from the cornucopia. Lieutenant Worf runs away from the cornucopia. Nurse Alyssa runs away from the cornucopia. Geordi runs away from the cornucopia. Barclay scares Ensign Rolaren away from the cornucopia. Alexander snatches a bottle of alcohol on a rag. Deanna finds a bag full of explosives. Wesley rips a mace out of Data's hands. Why are there so many maces this time? Miles O'Brien grabs a shield, leaning on the cornucopia. Captain Edward grabs a jar of fishing bait while Keiko O'Brien gets fishing gear. You should be with your husband. What is this? Poor Miles. Guinan runs away from the cornucopia. Can I just call her Whoopi? Whoopi Goldberg. Oh, Dr. Pulaski shoots a poisonous blow dart into Geordi's neck, slowly killing him. God damn. It's one of my favorites. Enterprise computer camouflages herself in the bushes. Q collects fruit from a tree. It's kind of funny that Enterprise camouflages themselves, because, you know, if they ever left it, they might camouflage it. Kidding. Barclay runs away from Timothy. Guinan tries to spear fish with a trident. Lieutenant Worf sees smokes rising in the distance, but decides not to investigate. Captain Edward sprains his ankle while running away from Wesley. Miles O'Brien discovers a cave. Dr. Beverly and Deanna threaten a double suicide. It fails and they die. No! Come on. All the cool characters are dying at the very beginning. Kayler searches for a water source. Lieutenant Tasha severely slices Ensign Rolaren with a sword. I mean, you know what? For Lieutenant Tasha, that actually makes a lot of sense. Amanda receives clean water from an unknown sponsor. Data and Alexander hunt for other tributes. Nurse Alyssa travels to higher ground. Keiko O'Brien makes a slingshot. Captain Picard goes hunting. Commander Riker receives fresh food from an unknown sponsor. And Lwaxana Troy thinks about home. 4 cannon shots can be heard in the distance. Geordi, Dr. Beverly, and Deanna. Like those 3. I love Deanna. She died. Inside Rolaren. District 8. Sorry, you're not as cool as that. Night 1. Captain Picard climbs a tree to rest. Q, Lieutenant Worf, and Guinan get into a fight. Q tragically kills them both. Oh my god, he killed Lieutenant Worf. Enterprise computer tries to sing herself to sleep. Amanda receives clean water from an unknown sponsor. Keiko O'Brien tends to Barclay's wounds. Data defeats Wesley in a fight but spares his life. Dr. Pulaski begs for Nurse Alyssa to kill her. She refuses, keeping Dr. Pulaski alive. That's because she's a nurse. She made no. When she became a nurse. Kayla defeats Lwaxana Troy in a fight but spares her life. Lieutenant Tasha receives an explosive from an unknown sponsor. Timothy stays awake all night. That's because he has no parents to watch him, to make sure he goes to sleep. Captain Edwards' trap kills Alexander. Aw, poor kid. Commander Riker destroys Miles O'Brien's supplies while he's sleeping. I was just gonna keep on going with that. Day 2, Kayler receives fresh food from an unknown sponsor. Amanda, Captain Picard, Keiko O'Brien, Dr. Pulaski, and Q hunt for other tributes. Lieutenant Tasha begs for Lwaxana Troi to kill her. She refuses, keeping Lieutenant Tasha alive. Enterprise computer receives clean water from an unknown sponsor. Miles O'Brien, Timothy, and Commander Riker hunt for other tributes. Captain Edward receives medical supplies from an unknown sponsor. Barclay attacks Data, but he manages to escape. Wesley's trap kills Nurse Alyssa. Oh, poor Nurse Alyssa. She didn't do anything to you, Wesley. 4 cannon shots can be heard in the distance. Lieutenant Worf, District 3, Guinan, District 6, Alexander, District 10, and Nurse Alyssa, District 7. Can the hard ones that I can't read very well die? That would be so much nicer. Night 2, Lwaxana Troi receives an explosive from an unknown sponsor. Amanda tends to her wounds. Keiko, O'Brien, and Captain Edward tell stories about themselves to each other. Data falls into a frozen lake and drowns. No! Data's my favorite character in The Next Generation, so now I'm very sad. Wesley lets Barclay into his shelter. Timothy is awoken by nightmares. Commander Riker, Enterprise, Computer, Miles O'Brien, and Kaler tell each other ghost stories to lighten the mood. Q receives a hatchet from an unknown sponsor. Dr. Pulaski convinces Captain Picard to snuggle with her. I mean, it's not hard. Lieutenant Tasha tends to her wounds. Day 3, Commander Riker steals from Lwaxana Troi while she isn't looking. Dr. Pulaski scares Amanda off. Captain Picard, Keiko O'Brien, and Lieutenant Tasha hunt for other tributes. Timothy and Wesley work together for the day. Q receives a hatchet from an unknown sponsor. Miles O'Brien makes a slingshot. Barclay thinks about home. Enterprise computer discovers the computer. Discovers the river. Kaler is pricked by thorns while picking berries. Captain Edward searches for firewood. I can't talk. Data, District 3. I was hoping you'd win. Night 3. Miles O'Brien tends to his wounds. Lwaxana Troi convinces Kaler to not kill her, only to kill her instead. Well, at least, you know, the one that I can't read very well died. Q fends Lieutenant Tasha, Wesley, and Enterprise computer away from his fire. Captain Picard tends to his wounds. Captain Edward sets up camp for the night. Barclay, Dr. Pulaski, Amanda, and Commander Riker tell each other ghost stories to lighten the mood. Man, they all like to tell each other ghost stories all the time. Keiko O'Brien decapitates Timothy with a sword. Well, wellity, that is a tough lady. Day 4, Lieutenant Tasha travels to higher ground. Q runs away from Captain Picard. Amanda makes a wooden spear. Captain Edward defeats Miles O'Brien in a fight but spares his life. Commander Riker makes a wooden spear. Barclay runs away from Lwaxana Troi. Keiko O'Brien makes a wooden spear. Enterprise computer receives a medical supplies from an unknown sponsor. Wesley discovers discovers a cave. Dr. Pulaski travels to higher ground. Apparently, I should not be reading tonight. Proceed. I hit the proceed button. 2 cannon shots can be heard in the distance. Kaler, District 12, and Timothy, District 12. Oh, both District 12 people died at the same time. Night 4. Q and Keiko O'Brien run into each other and decide to truce for the night. I always get him mixed up with Miles, so I'm like, oh, it's their husband. No, it's not. Amanda dies trying to escape the arena. Well, good job. Enterprise computer loses sight of where she is. Captain Edward shoots a poisonous blow dart into Dr. Pulaski's neck, slowly killing her. Well, you're just rude, aren't you? Miles O'Brien receives medical supplies from an unknown sponsor. Captain Picard and Lieutenant Tasha hold hands. Again, it's not that hard. Barclay, Lwaxana Troi, Commander Riker, and Wesley tell each other ghost stories to lighten the mood. Why are you guys always insistent on telling each other ghost stories? Kill each other. That's your job. Day 5. Captain Edward sees smoke rising in the distance, but decides not to investigate. Lieutenant Tasha tends to Commander Riker's wounds. Lwaxana Troi stalks Q. Keiko O'Brien collects fruit from a tree. Enterprise computer tries to sleep through the entire day. Wesley forces Captain Picard to kill Barclay or Miles O'Brien. He decides to kill Barclay, which is fine because he's not that important. I mean, everyone's important. It's a whole well-oiled machine. 3 cannon shots can be heard in the distance. Amanda, District 10, Dr. Pulaski, District 7, and Barclay, District 9. Night 5. Q questions his sanity. Captain Picard cooks his food before putting his fire out. Commander Riker fends Captain Edward, Keiko O'Brien, and Miles O'Brien away from his fire. Finally, the 2 of them get together. Jeez. Lieutenant Tasha and Enterprise computers sleep in shifts. Wesley dies from hypothermia. Way to go, Wesley. Luoxana Troy cries herself to sleep. Watch, she wins just because she's the most difficult one to say out of all of them. The cornucopia is replenished with food, supplies, weapons, and memoirs from the tributes' families. Everyone's gonna die. Captain Picard, Miles O'Brien, and Enterprise Computer start fighting, but Miles O'Brien runs away as Captain Picard kills Enterprise Computer. Whew! Well, at least Miles and Picard are alive still. Q decides not to go to the feast, which is a good plan. Keiko O'Brien, Commander Riker, Lieutenant Tasha, and Luoxana Troy team up to grab food, supplies, weapons, and memoirs. Captain Edward decides not to go to the feast. Only one person died? Only one person died. The entire feast. Usually like 4 people die. Only one though. Day 6. Keiko O'Brien, Captain Picard, Luoxana Troy, Q, and Commander Riker hunt for the tributes. Well, maybe such a big group shouldn't be together. Lieutenant Tasha receives fresh food from an unknown sponsor. Miles O'Brien injures himself. Captain Edward makes a wooden spear. Well, I mean, he was running away from Captain Picard. He was kind of scared, so he just kept going. Oh, good. The arena's border begins to rapidly contract. Miles O'Brien survives. Captain Edward survives. Q restrains Keiko O'Brien to a tree and leaves her to die. Wow, Q. Lieutenant Tasha survives. Commander Riker pushes Luoxana Troy into the border while she is not paying attention. Oh my god. Captain Picard is electrocuted by the border. Well, Captain Picard fans, Captain Picard is no more. 5 cannon shots can be heard in the distance. Wesley, District 5. Enterprise Computer, District 4. Keiko O'Brien, District 11. Luoxana Troy, District 9. And Captain Picard, District 1. Night 6. Q and Captain Edward huddle for warmth. Something tells me that would never really happen. Commander Riker stays awake all night. Miles O'Brien tends to his wounds. Lieutenant Tasha receives clean water from an unknown sponsor. Day 7. Lieutenant Tasha constructs a shack. Miles O'Brien receives fresh food from an unknown sponsor. Captain Edward injures himself. Commander Riker fishes. And Q camouflages himself in the bushes. Well, it looks like everyone's just doing their own thing at this point. No one died because everyone's just doing their own thing. Lieutenant Tasha thinks of home at night 7. Q goes to sleep. Captain Edward and Miles O'Brien track down and kill Commander Riker. That was my second pick. God, they would have killed my second pick because why would they win? No one ever wins at a maneuver. Day 8. Lieutenant Tasha steals from Q while he isn't looking. Miles O'Brien falls into a frozen lake and drowns. And no, he wasn't my next pick. So ha! Captain Edward injures himself. 2 cannon shots can be heard in the distance. Commander Riker, District 1, and Miles O'Brien, District 5. Lieutenant Tasha accidentally detonates a landmine while trying to arm it. That was my third choice in Night 8. Captain Edward repeatedly stabs Q to death with sighs. So it looks like Captain Edward from District 11 won. Woo! And I think he killed the most people. Did he? Yeah. Winner on both fronts. Well, that is the last Hunger Games before the finale. So next I'm going to do the finale, which I'm kind of really excited about. So yay! But yeah, I guess I'm going to end things here. So yeah, anyway, hopefully I will see you guys next time. Bye!